But what makes me a lot more reliable to all of these other clients is, number one, they know that the candidates that I send through are top tier, but they also know that I'm smart enough to work with 5 recruiters, some of them even better than I am. And I'm going to put their candidates into my flow and into their candidate pipeline. And for a client to have that, to have an individual who is acting as an account manager that's also filtering these candidates coming through, that has the power of a team behind them, and they know they can trust to get the right flow of candidates coming through, the right volume coming through. It's not just 1 here, 2 there, 3 there. Maybe you're working with a couple other clients at the same time. This gets you to the point where you can now work with 7 clients at a time. What's up, everybody? If you're new to this channel and to this podcast, this is the Solopreneur Recruiter, where I help you guys build your agency to the next level, close more clients, and just make more money overall, and tell my story, of course. So if you get anything out of this video or out of the podcast, if you can like and subscribe, write a review, it would mean the world to me, and it allows me to help more recruiters out there. Today, I really wanted to talk about what your goals are for your agency and how important that is to write it down on a sheet of paper and really have what your long-term goals are in mind at all times. And everybody has different goals. There's some people that just want to make $150K a year, take 3 months off on vacation per year. That's absolutely doable with this type of a business. Or you could want to take over the world and have a $10 million business, and that's 1,000% possible as well, even though it's going to take a lot more effort. You're going to have to kind of sell your soul a little bit, especially if you don't have investing. You're just going to bootstrap, but that is absolutely doable. And there is just so much money in this industry to be made. And for your agency, having that long-term goal in mind and writing it down is just so vital. And it's even more important for you to understand how to reverse engineer that and how exactly you're going to get there. Before the pandemic, and I hate saying this, but I was well on my way to my short-term goal, which was to drive 500K in revenue, reinvest a lot into the business, and really net 250K. I was well on my way to smashing that goal before the pandemic hit. I think I had like 9 candidates that were ready to be placed in the final stages of their interviews. Really, I think what really helped me do that was my mindset and having that goal in mind and reverse engineering exactly how that was going to get done. I think there's a lot of recruiters out there and a lot of recruiting influencers, so to speak, that a lot of times talk about your fee and not doing splits and things of that nature. And of course, I have a split board. I want more people to use it, but whether you use mine or somebody else's, the reason why split boards are so powerful goes a lot deeper than making extra money or just getting that placement in a scenario where you wouldn't have gotten it. So earlier in 2020, before the pandemic, there was something around 27, 28 open roles on my platform. They were all mine. Of course, if another recruiter came in and placed, I would split that fee, and I would essentially make money on scenarios where I wasn't working in open rec, or maybe I was working it, or they submitted a better candidate. So first and foremost, you're going to have a lot more candidates in that pipeline. When you come to really think about it, if you're working with a client, unless you have this exclusive contract with them, that client also has their own inflow of candidates. They have referrals coming through. Maybe they have a referral program with employees, and somebody comes in at the last minute and refers one of their friends at a competitor or something along those lines. They could be working with 5 other agencies and not paying attention to your candidates, and you have all this competition between other agencies that they close a deal with, which is a terrible scenario to be in. If you're in that scenario, I suggest you get out of it and start focusing on your other roles. But having that inflow of great candidates, especially when you find recruiters that you like to work with, whether it be on a split board or you're just networking, is so huge. I mean, I made so much money on candidate placements that I didn't even work. We're talking about $8,000-$10,000 here and there, once a month, twice a month. That's how you're going to get to the stage of really expanding, is finding recruiters to trust. You're going to go through that process of working with a few. Maybe this recruiter is going to be subpar. They don't put in the extra effort during the interview. You can't trust them. But the more you do that and go through that process and implement that into growing your business, At one point, you're going to have your go-to recruiters like I do. And I have around 15 or 17. A lot of them went off and started their own businesses, which I absolutely love about what I provide. But right now, I think it's 6 or 7 of us that I really trust on our platform. And that's what's going to help you get to that next stage, is having that be a part of your process. So at some point down the line, you have people that you can really lean on. And that's what building a business really is. And I saw a social media video the other day. Some guy was talking about building a business on having a full-time role is easy in the beginning and it gets harder as time goes on. But building a business is very difficult at the beginning and it gets easier as you continue to grow. And that's what you're trying to get to, is doing that smart work up front and starting to really try out working with other people and having that piece of you. Don't worry about not trusting people. That's a hard thing to get over. It's really valuable to get those recruiters into your system and continue to expand. What's also very, very valuable in that scenario, and this may be the most important part about all this. This isn't even about short-term money, about, in situations where you're being selfish and you're thinking, I could have made 20 grand on this role. And instead, I split it with somebody and I gave away $10,000. That's how a lot of people think. But what you're getting out of that scenario is not only more opportunity to make money and a higher likelihood of placing a candidate, even though it's a little bit less money or half the money, however way you're going to split up the commission, but also from the client perspective, is when they're working with somebody like you that has people behind them, whether they be contractors on split boards, maybe you W-2 those people, is they know in the future, and clients come back to me because they know they're only going to need one source. This is when you start to really win over clients. For the life of your business, if you really think about this, you can get those short-term wins where you make a lot more money and you can be seen as reliable. But what makes me a lot more reliable to all of these other clients is, number one, they know that the candidates that I send through our top tier, but they also know that I'm smart enough to work with 5 recruiters, some of them even better than I am. And I'm going to put their candidates into my flow and into their candidate pipeline. And for a client to have that, to have an individual who is acting as an account manager that's also filtering these candidates coming through, that has the power of a team behind them, and they know they can trust to get the right flow of candidates coming through, the right volume coming through. It's not just 1 here, 2 there, 3 there. Maybe you're working with a couple other clients at the same time. This gets you to the point where you can now work with 7 clients at a time and have all these different opportunities working at the same time. You can work with 1 client and have 3 open roles and have 3 opportunities to make money, or like me, you can have 7 or 8 going at once, not be working all of these at the same time, and have all these other recruiters going to work for you. They know they can trust you. They know that you're going to put their candidates through if they're great candidates. So you're not going to hold them back just because you want to make the full fee because you might have some candidate in the system that's getting close. You do what's best for the client in the short term, and you're going to win in the long term. You also need to work with that team and work with more recruiters. That's what's going to help you get to the next stage. That's what's also going to make you a smarter business owner. Instead of going back and forth and grinding your face off for the next 5 years, that's how you get to the point where things are more automated. Things are a lot easier. That's how you build a business that's easier to operate. It's not by short-term gains. It's all about keeping an eye on the long term. So reverse engineer that. Write down on a piece of paper where you see yourself in 2025. How specifically are you going to get there? How specifically are you going to build more value for your client in the short term, even if it might cost you a little bit of money in the short term for yourself? And start to build towards that. Also check out my split board, and you can use any split board, you can use any networking opportunities, but this is how you're going to get it done, is working with really smart recruiters that are trained, that know how to get the job done in source. So if you got anything out of this video, be sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening to this on the podcast, a review means the world to me. That really helps us hit new ears and help us grow. But this is just a thought I had today about you getting to that next level. Also keep an eye out for a 30-day challenge. We're going to be rolling that out at least once a month. It's small Zoom classes. It's super affordable. And I'm going to show you exactly how I built this whole thing. And we're going to build it together side by side, step by step, and in person. One-on-one coaching involved as well. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.